Well, hello, and welcome to SoCal Prep Report. My name's Randy Rosenblum. My co-host, Tarek will join me momentarily. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk prep baseball. LuKach from PBR, Prep Baseball Report. He'll join us momentarily, and we'll discuss, Southern California prep baseball and how good Notre Dame might be. They're currently ranked number 1. We're going to check out the poll. We're also going to have Sina Agassy from Chatsworth High School talking about boys volleyball. Chatsworth is the number 1 ranked team in the city section. But Tarek, I'm kind of surprised you're here tonight. I kind of expected you as a member of the Daily News to be in Augusta, Georgia, covering the Masters.
Man, are you telling me, man? I would love to have those first tee butterflies, man. Really work on my swing. But I think that might be one of my bucket list items is being at Augusta and going to the Masters. But no, I'm here with you. Even better.
I thought your bucket list would have the National Baseball Invitational in Carolina, because that was played last week, and we saw Huntington Beach get by Jay Serra in the championship game. And what was great about this is 2 Southern California teams reaching the finals. Jay Serra, who won the Open Division last year in the Southern section, against Huntington Beach, who can really hit the ball.
I want to say it's not the first time. I'm not like I know we got a guest on here who might be able to answer that question, and we'll get to that in a second. But I want to say it's not the first time SoCal teams have met in the final out of state in that tournament. I want to say Harvard-Westlake did it with someone else a couple of years ago, but could be wrong. But again, it's always nice to see local teams get out and play other state powers and see what they can do.
Yeah, Huntington Beach beat teams from Florida, Arizona, and Nevada before they got to Jay Serra. So that's a tribute to the Oilers, who, by the way, put up 10 runs again today. What another baseball game once they came back home. They beat Corona Del Mar earlier today. I also want to mention Notre Dame did lose a game. They're still number 1 in the poll. But Notre Dame lost last week to Crespi. But Crespi's got a great pitcher, don't they?
Isaiah Magdaleno, he was the Mission League Pitcher of the Year last year, Daily News Pitcher of the Year, as well as a junior. I believe he's going to Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken. And a really impact player, really good pitcher, of course. But the beauty of that win, look, that Mission League, they play 3 times a week, right? So Notre Dame won the series, but for Crespi to get 1 game off Notre Dame, probably a vote of confidence for that Celts ball club moving forward.
All right, let's go to LuKach. He's from Prep Baseball Report. He's the state director. He just knows just about everything when it comes to high school baseball in the Southland. We bring Les in. Les, good evening tonight.
Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
We're doing great. All right, I want to show you a poll, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So, Larry, bring up this Southern Section baseball poll where Notre Dame Sherman Oaks is ranked number 1. Number 2 is Santa Margarita, and you can see down the list from Villa Park all the way down to Orange Lutheran. Les, your thoughts. What do you see? Do you agree with this poll?
I don't hate it, right? I mean, I think the top 5 or 6 teams you can kind of interchange in any manner outside of the top 2. But, Benito, we have them ranked somewhere in the 15 to 18 neighborhood in the state, so they're certainly deserving. Are they deserving of being number 7? Not so sure. Coach Marcos does a phenomenal job with that program, and they do have some really good quality arms on the mound there to go with the offense. Pacifica is a little bit of a surprise to me. At 16-2, they're off to a really good start, obviously, and Coach Mike Kyra does a phenomenal job with what he has, and Sean Gurney has a big pitcher going to Cal State Fullerton. So it's a little bit of a surprise just given their schedule and the competition they've played, but hey, at 16-2, they're certainly deserving of some attention.
On my drive coming in today, it was gorgeous. There was sunshine. I'm thinking they can finally play baseball. But for most of this season, we've had a lot of rain. What's the greatest impact on these schools with all the rain that we've had so far?
Well, I think you're seeing it right now. You're seeing it with a team like Villa Park, who is playing 14 games. They're in the midst of 14 games over 20 days. They struggled a little bit here in the National Classic this week, and, they dropped one last week as well. It's not because it's not a quality team, but it's just so taxing, right? I mean, these guys are not playing for a long time, and then they're playing 3, 4, 5 games in a row. I was talking to a coach today who said that they played 4 games in almost 48 hours, right? And so when you're playing 4 games in 48 hours, that's a lot of innings you have to manage as a coach on your bullpen. and on your starters. And then when you're doing that, 2-3 weeks in a row, that can be very taxing. And I think we're going to see the results of that here pretty soon as we start dipping into the playoffs in a couple of weeks.
Les, I want to ask you about Harvard Westlake. That's a team in my area that's always, man, like national power, the juggernaut, the team that they are. Jared Helper does such a great job. They got arms, they got talent. Man, they're experiencing one of the most challenging seasons that maybe as long as I've been on the beat for almost 10 years. I looked back, I don't think they've already lost 6 or 7 Mission League games. That's the most in at least half a dozen years. To your knowledge, what might be some of their challenges? What do you think they're figuring out? By all means, the season's not over. There's a lot of games left to play, but kind of a surprise to see how poorly they're doing so far.
Yeah, I think the struggles offensively have caught up with them. Outside of a couple of guys in their lineup, they're certainly challenged to, drive runs in at the plate. And when that happens in that league, you're going to have a tough time winning games. I think the addition of Duncan Marston is going to pay huge dividends. I mean, this is a kid who has, limitless talent and is already up to 93, 94 miles an hour on the mound. So when you combine him with Tommy Bridges and Bryce Rayner on the mound, they're going to be a very tough beat when it comes to the playoffs. The question is going to be is their offense going to be able to catch up? And it's not just Harvard Westlake when it comes to offense. I think that's kind of the underlying theme, just having conversations this last couple of weeks with a number of different coaches. It's, there doesn't seem to be one team out there that just really scares you from an offensive standpoint. Now, when you're on offense and you're facing some of these arms, there's plenty of those teams. Like we talked about with Notre Dame and Justin Lee and a few other guys there. But I think for Harvard Westlake, the big key is going to be getting contributions from guys that they didn't necessarily think they were going to have to rely on. So bottom of the order type guys that, maybe aren't the quote famous guys, end quote, that they have on their roster. Those guys are going to need to flip the switch offensively in order to catch up to the pitching because they're getting some quality pitching. And be able to, make a push here in the postseason.
The Mission League, it's a microcosm. I think you alluded to it, to the parity. Like you're saying, there's so much parity. You kind of know who it's going to be. It reminds me kind of maybe the NCAA basketball tournament this year. I mean, for gosh sakes, we had FAU in the Final Four, San Diego State playing UConn. It's like, what? So, but that's kind of my follow-up for you. When you mention there seems to be an underlying challenge for other teams. We don't know who's beating who and how good everybody is. Do you see maybe a surprise champion this year in the top division? And if you had to pick a team that's a sleeper, who might it be?
You guys always put me on the spot here. I'll give you a couple of teams who maybe will certainly make a push in the postseason. I think San Dimas and South Hills, I just watched them for 4 straight days here. I think those teams are built to make runs in the postseason. I think Cypress, who is in the in the National Classic Championship game tonight, they're off to a really hot start they're on a really hot streak right now after a slow start, if you will, in our tournament. Those are 3 teams I think that will make some noise in the postseason. But you know what? The postseason, Tarek, as you guys know, is all about execution, right? But, you can't execute if you're not prepared. So I look at coaches more so than I look at teams in the postseason. And there's a handful of coaches that have just gotten that, the job done with lesser talent than what they have this year. And I would expect those kind of usual suspects, the Harvard Westlakes, the Coronas, the Notre Dames, the J. Sarahs, Olus, the list goes on. I expect those guys to certainly be at the top when it comes to the postseason. But if you really want a sleeper team, it's an outside sleeper. Vista Marietta is a really good team, Tarek. I just saw them for 4 straight days, and they've got some pitching, and they certainly have some offense. And, if they can put it all together here in the next couple of weeks, they could be that team.
Another team could be Huntington Beach, led by Colby Turner. He's hitting .383 currently. But I want to ask you, give me the 5 in your mind, whether a pitcher or hitter, 5 top players in Southern California this season. 5 good ones at least.
Well, we're lucky that we are in Southern California, so we do have a lot of good ones, more than 5. But if you want 5 guys who are really good players, and we can just stick to the senior class. And, certainly there's a number of guys that are getting some attention from MLB drafts standpoint. Obviously Justin Lee, we mentioned him. Another guy in your neck of the woods, Keaton Hediger, Tarek out at Sierra Canyon, is having a monster season from both sides of the plate, and he's showing scouts that he can certainly catch at the next level. There's a guy, Tarek, you might want to check in on because his stock is climbing. Obviously down at Servite at the shortstop there, Roman Martin, Eric Batanti out at Aquinas, but Ralph Velasquez over at Huntington Beach has really positioned himself as kind of the premier bat in this class. Excuse me, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Gavin Grahovic at Villa Park. But Ralph Velasquez, again, in many people's eyes, has positioned himself as the premier bat available in this class. And when it comes to pitchers, I mentioned Justin Lee, Cole Stokes at Redondo. There's a pitcher up in Santa Barbara, Cole Schoenwetter, who reportedly was up to 98 2 days ago. So there's a number of players in Southern California, that could fit that bill of top 5 guys.
Yeah, you couldn't do it. You couldn't give me 5, could you? You had to go 10 or 12, but it was worth it.
Hey,
okay,
real
quickly.
Quick. Let me say something. I heard you guys talking about the NHSI, right? And 8 out of the 10 years now it's been won by a team from Southern California.
There you go.
And I want to say that 9 of those 10 years there was at least one participant in the finals from Southern California. From California. One of those years was Clovis from Fresno area. And then I want to say it's 6 out of those 7 appearances, or 6 out of those 8 appearances are all California final.
There we go. Okay, so it's like a common thing for 2 SoCal teams to meet up out of state when they could just drive down the street and see each other.
Right.
So Les, in 30 seconds, prep report, your prep report that you give out. Tell us a little bit what you do with your thing and how people can reach you.
Yeah, check us out, prepbaseballreport.com. We cover a lot of games. We put out content daily, whether it's, high school baseball, summer ball, whether it's our own events, things of that nature. We run a number of events that we'll have coming up here in the summer. Some of them, attended by some of the biggest colleges in the area. It's prepbaseballreport.com is the website. You can find us on Twitter at PBR_California. You can find me on Twitter at LuKach. But yeah, check it out. There's a ton of content coming out every day.
Les, thanks a lot. Always great to have you on the program. Great insight on prep baseball in the Southland. We really appreciate it.
Really appreciate you guys having me. Thanks, guys.
Right, you take care. Have a great night. All right, we're going to step out. When we come back, we're going to talk volleyball. Sina Agassy, the great young coach at Chatsworth High School. He wins city championships in boys and girls. He's just a great coach. He'll join us. We'll talk about his top-ranked chancellors when we return right after this from Pacific Surfliner.
California has always been a land of discovery. From historic gems to iconic beaches to top attractions. Let the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner be part of your journey as you explore more of the place we call home. Reconnect with the communities you love most, with the people you love most. Isn't it time you rediscovered Southern California?
All right, we're going to have Sina Agassy on in a moment, but we want to look at the Renee Lopez top 10 city section volleyball rankings. You're saying, who's Renee Lopez? Well, he's an assistant coach at Taft, and he really knows the boys and girls volleyball scene in the city section. So he's got a top 10. It's probably the foremost top 10 in LA City for their schools. And there are the rankings, Tarek. Chatsworth on top. They went to the finals last year and lost to Palisades. People are telling me Chatsworth, Eagle Rock, and Pali are basically equal.
Yeah, maybe interchange them. Either way, no one's going to argue. And look, Renee Lopez really has all the information. He watches all these teams. He's seen them and coached against them. So I wouldn't argue with any of this. Sure, could a couple teams be interchanged and move up and down a little bit, but I think he's got the right 10 teams here.
And look at how many West Valley teams. You got Chatsworth, El Camino, Granada Hills, Taft. 4 of the 10 from the West Valley. All right, with that in mind, it's time for Sina Agassy, back from Honolulu. In fact, I think he cut his trip short just to join the show.
Please.
So, Sina, we appreciate you coming back in time to L.A. Now, you really went there for your baby moon? Is that why you were there? Tell us about the trip in itself.
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, thanks for having me, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be in the presence of you two and, Prep Sports. But yeah, my wife has been pregnant, our first that we're expecting, like Tarek as well. And I've just been educated on this whole baby moon event that we partook in. And, like I've been advised, what your wife wants, your wife gets. And, that trip out to Hawaii was a great relaxing trip for us too. And, into a new chapter of parenthood that, we're both enduring together and excited for.
Congratulations on being number one. And obviously, congratulations on having your firstborn. It's going to be a girl, right?
Happy, all the.
Okay, all right. Sina, my thoughts on your team is you got a great club. And Renee Lopez was saying the top three teams, as Tarek used the term, are interchangeable. Would you agree with that? Or is there someone else that could join the party later in the year when you get to the Open Division playoffs?
Well, I think every year poses its own, kind of trajectory of the seedings and playoffs. And, obviously there are three teams that have kind of tiered themselves a little bit away, featuring Eagle Rock, who's led by Tom Olentukuyang, and he's done a phenomenal job as a junior there. And then obviously Palisades is always in the mix, whether it's boys or girls. Carlos Gray does a great job, and, they're led by Blake Pessock and James Rockwell. And, I think, obviously, we're in that mix too, but on any given day, there's University, there's El Camino, there's Taft, there's Granada. You just mentioned it yourself. All the teams in the West Valley. You catch any of those teams, they have the power to beat some of those top three teams, but it's going to require a little bit of strategy. Obviously, maybe catching someone on an off day. And I think Les kind of alluded to it. There's been a lot of stoppage, right, between a lot of rain, the work stoppage in LAUSD. So a lot of programs are also just kind of battling back from COVID as well. And whatever they lost out on, whether it's seniors or, underclassmen over the past few years. But it's really exciting to be a boys high school volleyball team with all the parity, because on any given day, you got to bring it against some of those top 10 teams.
Sina, talk about your team a little bit. Who are the players to watch? Who's setting the ball? Who's killing the ball? Who's serving the ball? Who's digging the ball? Tell us about the Chancellors.
Yes, I mean, it starts with our two senior captains, one being Blake Pahavitz, who's a senior outside hitter, 6'5", committed to George Mason, phenomenal athlete. I think I was talking to someone the other day about him being a 4.6 student, and just when you have that sort of athleticism and talent and match that up with the smarts and the IQ and the competitiveness, it makes for a great volleyball player. And next to him is our libero Jacob Perez, who's a 4-year starting libero for us at Chatsworth, which is haven't seen since the early 2000s, and he's been a phenomenal leader. And those two have paced us really, really well, along with the supporting cast around them to try to win this journey of another city championship, hopefully.
Well, you're playing Tuesday night at a match we're going to have on LA 36 against Taft, the Toreadors, and they really challenged you at your place. They took you to 5, and they have a player I know you're very familiar with in Sam Henry. So the question is really twofold. Are you kind of like an underdog now that you're going to be on the road, even though you knocked them off, and even though you are number one because you're playing them in Woodland Hills? And 2, can you slow down Sam, who damaged you in the first match?
Well, I mean, he's a great player. They're also led by a senior by the name of Hayden Song. He's a senior setter, does a phenomenal job over there. And obviously, anytime you play an Armand Mercado coach team, you're in for a battle. I think Les also alluded to this. Anytime you see one of those programs that's had coaches there for a long period of time, you have your work cut out for you. So, and I'm actually relishing the away matches, because over the past few years, we've been so limited in travel. I think I talked about this last time, where you didn't have as many tournaments or away matches. So anytime you get to be in the West Valley League, travel away, see that sort of crowd, underdog, upper dog, doesn't matter to me. I'm just excited for a great volleyball match. And, I think I talked about this with one of my coaches. The environment that you get in that nighttime, high school volleyball match, you could play the highest level of club and all those things, but to sit in a gym filled with hundreds of kids, hundreds of families, and playing a crosstown rival in your league, it's exciting stuff, and it gets the nerves and the blood flowing, and it's something that our guys are fired up for, and we're going to be up for the challenge, and hopefully better prepared this time.
Sina, I haven't had a chance to look at your schedule, but I know that you always want to try and challenge your team. In our area or in Southern California, look, they're the Loyolas, the Miracostas, those are like the top dogs. You're kind of the top dog of the city section, but really my question for you is do you try and schedule Southern section programs in the non-league? Is playing against other city section teams good enough? How do you find the balance of challenging your team and getting ready for a city title run?
No doubt, that's a great question. I mean, it's obviously challenging because there is such a, big talent pool in those areas in the southern section, such as Loyola and Miracosta. Every year we'll typically go down to Redondo. I know most West Valley teams go there either early season, late season, where you'll see your Servites, your Loyolas, your Redondos. And then on our non-league schedule, we played Hart in our first match, and they feature two Division I players by the name of Owen Doffner and Hank Kaufman, both going to Northridge. And it's a whole nother beast when you get to play that sort of talent, 6'7", 6'6", guys just jumping out of the gym. And, it causes for just good adversity, good tests early on in the year. And I think it's pivotal in any program's success to try to test themselves early on in the year, throughout the year. Luckily in our league, when you're playing Granada and Taft and Elko back to back to back, it causes for a lot of adversity just naturally throughout your league play. So it's definitely cool to see just the difference of play in all the different areas. And obviously, there's a handful of coaches that do a phenomenal job in our section that are trying to close that gap in the talent pool and getting our city section as close as we can to the southern and playing better volleyball all around.
Well, Sina, congratulations on the firstborn that's coming up. Congratulations on being number one. We'll see you Tuesday night for the big match in Woodland Hills against Taft. And have a great night, and welcome back to Southern California.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Good to be back.
All right, thanks, Sina. He's done a wonderful job there. A lot of people don't know he was a great libero for Armand Mercado at Taft. Mercado's still the coach, so obviously they're very close-knit. So you got that coaching matchup, and we're excited to have it on Channel 36. We're going to have the match live Tuesday night. It's our Pacific Surfliner game of the week. There it is, boys volleyball, 7 o'clock, first serve. I'll be joined by Will Reinhardt, knock on wood. He's got a match that day. If he can get through traffic and get there by 7 o'clock, he's the coach at Verdugo Hills. We hope Will be alongside. We think he'll get there right about 7 o'clock. All right, we got some softball to talk about. I want to start with Norco. They've been the number one team most of the year. They've been supplanted now by Los Alamitos. But Norco's got a young lady by the name of Myra Perez. Myra Perez is terrific. She's on her way to Texas A&M. Good look at her there. Dominant player. And I guess when you have a great team, you have to have a great player.
Listen, if there's one thing I know about softball, okay, and the little knowledge that I have about life at all, and there's one thing I know about softball, if you have a dominating player from the circle, you got a chance any day of the week. And if you got someone that's pitching like that, you got a chance to win, and you can win at a high level. You just need listen, I saw it with Michaela Castor at Oaks Christian last year. I called her the Shohei Ohtani of softball. She could hit too, but boy, she was dominant from the pitching circle. So anyone like that can lead the way. And
Perez is a great hitter as well. Okay, let's talk about Los Alamitos. They won the Michelle Carew Invitational. Mm-hmm. That's a big tournament, and when you win there, that really signifies that you belong. Now, they're now number one. They've supplanted Norco. And because they're not only number one in L.A., they're number one in California, and they're ranked fifth in America after winning the Carew.
The Carew is basically the equivalent to the Boris Classic in baseball. I mean, that's if you win that thing, you're like now heralded as the top team in the Southland and probably a pick for the favorite to win Division I or top division softball. So good for Los Alamitos. I got to bring it back. That's another team that was in the way of Oaks Christian winning a Southern Section title last year.
Yeah, Taryn Clements had a huge home run in their championship game at the Carew to help the Griffins along in winning that big title. All right, we got plenty more to talk about, but there's a home run. It's like Sosa and McGuire all over again. It's Parker of Notre Dame.
Ella Parker.
And Areola of Oaks Christian. Two young ladies you know very well. Areola has 14 home runs. Parker, in not a whole lot of games, I guess Notre Dame had some rainouts, has 11. They're knocking them out every day.
I think the difference is Areola isn't the truth. That's a photo of Ella Parker. She's going to Oklahoma, which is that's like going to Duke and hoops or something. That's like the top program.
They're ranked #1 in the country right now.
The thing with Areola, she's a fantastic hitter. This is the difference, and I think this is what's going on. Areola isn't as feared. It's just the truth. She may garner that she should be as feared, but she's not as feared. Ella Parker has been hitting home runs for forever, and so what happens is Ella Parker doesn't get as many chances. I think she's got, I want to say, a little over 20, maybe 25 plate appearances, or excuse me, over 50 plate appearances, but 20 of them she's been walked. So, she's really feared. Areola hits the homers because I think she's pitched to more.
How about Brianna Weiss of Orange Lutheran? She won a game. She's a pitcher. She struck out 20. There's only 21 outs.
Word.
How do you do that?
Man, with dominance and with difficulty, that's how you do that. What an outstanding performance.
I know where you're going to be Saturday.
Oh,
Arcadia.
Yeah?
You're not going to a racetrack. You're going to see some races, though, at the
That's
Invitational.
right. Yep.
It's the Arcadia Invitational, and it's going to be a pleasant experience for you, right?
It
Roderick
is.
Pleasant's running.
Roderick Pleasant, Dijon Stanley, Megan Humphreys, April Fontanette. I mean, the list goes on of these really, really talented athletes in SoCal. They're fast. They're athletic. I'll never forget a couple of years ago, Paige Summers, a pole vaulter from Westlake. I mean, the list goes on, the who's who. The Arcadia Invitational is the best high school track and field tournament in the country. Or not a tournament, it's a meet.
It's a meet. A lot of teams have been in tournaments. Creighton was in a tournament.
Oh,
and they had
man.
a local young man, Ben Scholzberg, who was at Notre Dame Sherman Oaks. He was a freshman on Creighton's Elite 8 basketball team. He's transferring. He's hit the portal already as a freshman.
Really great player, all Mission League guy. Ben Stoltzberg, high motor, good guard, can shoot, can dribble, physical, plays with a chip on his shoulder, a little feisty on and off the court. I would think, listen, I don't know all the details. I would think he would stick around. Creighton was in the top 10 all year long, right. Elite 8. You're a freshman. You're really not supposed to play. Wait your turn kind of thing, but you never know. Hopefully he lands on his feet and gets some playing time because clearly that's what he's seeking.
Your buddy's gone. Jaime Jaquez made it official today from UCLA. He's going to go into the NBA draft. I know you love him.
Triple
we love
J.
him because he went from Camarillo to UCLA. He's a
man.
local kid.
What
and
a
really
story.
established himself.
Fantastic story. Jaime Jaquez, I mean, you're right. From Camarillo to Westwood, the big man on campus. I've seen it with my own two eyes. Students, adults stop him. They want to take selfies with him. He's got the long hair with the mustache. I mean, it's classic stuff. And not only is he a great guy, but a great player. And I'll give you one last ad. I've been looking at the mock drafts, and some of these mock drafts have NBA comparisons, right? Like this player, and here's a comp that he's like. And I saw one that fits really, really well, and you're going to laugh. Rick Fox.
Yeah, I saw that.
About 6'7", same build. If you got a smaller guy on you, maybe you can muscle him. But if he can really polish a jump shot, he can play defense and live on the perimeter. It's a good comp, and more than anything, Rick Fox was well-liked. He was a good role player, locker room guy on winning teams. I see Jaime Jaquez going like second round to like a team that's already good, like the Milwaukee Bucks or something like that. And I see him sticking in the league for more than 10, 12 years.
Now, next week, we're going to talk about the LA City Section Hall of Fame. April 16th is their banquet. Probably the biggest name going in is Wesley Walker. Great football player at Carson in the mid-'70s. Went on to Cal and star with the New York Jets. He's in the Ring of Honor. But next week, we'll talk about the Hall of Fame, the City Section side.
Are you a Jets fan?
I like the Jets. I like NFL football. I like all teams. I mean, a particular Jets fan? No. I kind of enjoy all the teams and just enjoy the league.
You don't remember the butt fumble?
Yeah?
Oh, okay.
You want to talk about Mark Sanchez?
Yeah, hey, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's a fantastic event, and happy for what's the gentleman's name?
Wesley Walker?
Wesley
He's
Walker.
one of 20 that are going
That's
in, for goodness
fantastic.
sake.
That's
I can go
fantastic.
through all of them. Judy Edwards, the coach.
Where's the event
from
this year?
Fairfax. That's in the Valley.
Very cool.
The restaurant in the Valley.
Very cool.
It's good. We'll have more on that next week. We're going to talk about that the whole show. That's it. Tarek's got to get out to Arcadia for the Invitational. I think he's going to start running over there right now. That's Saturday. So Tarek will enjoy that. I'm going to relax over the weekend. Enjoy your Easter holiday. We'll see you next Thursday night right here live at 9 o'clock. And again, we'll talk about the LA City Section Hall of Fame. For Tarek, I'm Randy. For everyone here at LA 36, good night on SoCal Prep Report. We'll see you next time.
Wesley Walker.
Great receiver. Big
Fast?
time. Fast. Got behind the secondary all the time.
Was he faster than you?
Sure. He was faster than everyone in the NFL at the time. I think he led the league in receiving.
When you were